So, here's a wild one for you. How on earth does a company that makes machines for weaving fabric end up becoming the biggest car company in the world? I mean, it sounds kind of impossible, right? Well, it happened, and today we're going to find out exactly how.
Welcome to the Toyota story. This is so much more than a story about cars. It's really about a radical philosophy of innovation and this relentless, almost obsessive drive for perfection that literally changed modern manufacturing. So, here's what we're going to cover. We'll start at their super surprising beginnings in the loom business. Then we'll dive deep into the revolutionary production system that became their secret weapon. After that, we'll see how they took over the global market, pioneered the whole hybrid thing, and finally take a look at the massive new challenges they're facing right now. All right, let's get into it. Part 1, from looms to cars. And believe me, the origins of this automotive giant are about as unlikely as it gets. Just look at how fast this all happened. In 1926, Sakichi Toyota starts a company making automatic looms. Okay, cool. But just 7 years later, his son Kitro decides, you know what? We're going to make cars now. And by 1937, the Toyota Motor Company is its own thing. That's an insanely bold pivot in just about a decade. And you got to remember the context here. This wasn't just some casual business venture. This was a massive national project. The challenge was huge. Build a car industry from the ground up, right as the world was heading towards a massive conflict. The stakes could not have been higher. And that pressure, that scarcity, it leads us right to part 2, the Toyota production system. Now this is where the story gets really good. Toyota didn't just figure out how to build cars, they created a whole new philosophy born out of the ashes of post-war Japan. Okay, so think about it like this. On one side, you have the old way. Make tons and tons of parts, stack them up, and just push them down the assembly line. A little waste? No big deal. But Toyota, they flipped that completely on its head. They created what's called a pull-based system with almost no extra inventory, all focused on one single goal, eliminating every last bit of waste. The first pillar of this whole thing is something you've probably heard of, just-in-time, or JIT. The idea is so simple, but it was absolutely revolutionary. Basically, don't keep huge piles of parts lying around. Instead, have everything you need arrive at the factory at the exact moment you need it for production. This saves a ton of money, frees up space, and makes the whole process incredibly lean and efficient. The second pillar is Kaizen, which means continuous improvement. And this wasn't just some memo from management. It was the entire culture of the company. Every single person on the assembly line had the power and the responsibility to stop everything if they saw a problem and suggest a way to make it better. I mean, wow, what a game changer for manufacturing culture. So this new culture of insane efficiency perfectly set the stage for part 3, conquering the global market. Because it turned out that the system they built to survive at home was the perfect weapon for taking on the world, especially when a global crisis gave them the perfect opening. At the time, this was literally what the big dogs in Detroit were thinking. The major automakers were totally convinced that their huge, gas-guzzling cars were what everyone wanted forever. These little fuel-sipping cars from Japan? Just a fad, a curiosity. Oh, how wrong they were. Because that little passing fad, well, it turned into this, the Toyota Corolla. We're talking over 50 million sold. That makes it, by a huge margin, the best-selling car nameplate in the history of the world, period. So much for a fad, huh? So what was the big turning point? Well, you can sum it up in 2 words: oil crisis. Suddenly, gas prices went through the roof, and American buyers were desperate for something different. And Toyota was sitting there with exactly what they needed: cars that were super reliable, incredibly fuel-efficient, and didn't cost a fortune. It was the perfect product at the perfect time. But Toyota didn't just sit back and count their money. They were already looking ahead to the next big shift, which brings us to part 4, the hybrid revolution. This is where they decided to, once again, completely redefine what a car could be. See, by the 1990s, the conversation was starting to change. It wasn't just about the price of gas anymore. People were getting really concerned about the environmental impact of cars. Smog, emissions, and the whole future of fossil fuels. This was the new problem the industry had to solve. And Toyota's answer was the Prius. True to form, their approach was super methodical. They started this top-secret project codenamed G21, and in just 4 years, they had a car ready for the public. By the year 2000, the car that would define a whole new era of automaking was available all over the world. And the result of that massive early bet? decades of complete and utter dominance in the hybrid market. Toyota didn't just invent the category, they've basically owned it ever since. That investment paid off on a scale that is just hard to comprehend.
Which all brings us to right now, to our final section. Part 5, a legacy and a brand new challenge. After all this incredible success, what does the future actually hold for the world's biggest automaker?
I mean, the legacy is just undeniable. The Toyota production system is the gold standard for manufacturing everywhere. The name Toyota is basically a synonym for quality and reliability. They pioneered hybrid tech, and they've been the biggest car company in the world for most of the last 15 years. It's just an absolutely incredible run.
But that leads us to a really tough, critical question. The world is shifting again, this time to fully electric cars. And some critics say that by perfecting the hybrid, Toyota actually fell behind in the all-electric race. So is it possible that Toyota's greatest legacy, the hybrid, is now its biggest hurdle? It's a huge question and one the company is trying to answer as we speak.